It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm serious. And I'm also not a big fan of Western morality, I'm sorry. I actually think that Western morality is a hindrance at this point. And it's probably better that your child grows up with more local morality from here, because let's face it, we know better than most of Westoids.
Another Romanian morality I would say is I hope the neighbor's goat dies as well.
Yes, the neighbor.
Basically, if
To
someone...
be fair, that's not specifically Romanian. We have an example in Serbia as well. In Serbia, it's a curse to say, I hope I see your house at CNN," because only burning Serbian houses were shown at CNN during the war. So no. Screw the neighbor is a much more common one.
Yeah, and it's like this idea of being motivated by spite. If you have like the American mentality of treating adults like children, and it's like I will force good upon you, then it's my moral obligation to hurt the moral busybody somehow.
Yes.
Like for instance, they tried the American tactics here, the Progressive Party, the woke USR. They tried blocking the roads. You know, like the same way that environmentalists do it in America. And they generated so much spite that people found out, okay, who are these chuckleheads that are preventing me from going to work? Well, they're members of a leftist party. Who do they hate? Shoshaka.
Great.
That's how Shoshaka actually got, like, people who would never go to vote, who would never do anything. And they were horrified. It's like, but okay, so just because you were inconvenienced for 5 minutes, yes. Yes, absolutely, yes. Like, it took me 5 minutes to vote for her. That's how much it took for you guys to prevent me from going to the workplace. And so if you have this mentality, there are far less Karens and far less moral busybodies. Because a moral busybody has to go like, is what I want to accomplish really that important? Because I'm going to get a lot of people that will fuck with me, and they will find out what I hate, and they will do literally that. So is it really worthwhile? And if the cause genuinely is so important for society, then you will have like some martyrs, some heroes that will be like, you know what? I will actually do it, and people will fuck with me. And they will. But like the idea of spiting the moral busybody, of having like this disdain for... And a moral busybody is a person that's not associated with you by blood. So it's not a family member. It's not your spouse. It's not your kid. It's not your boss. It's not an employee. It's like someone from the outside that doesn't know you, and
oftentimes not even a person in authority.
Yeah,
like, the concerned citizen is a slur in Romania.
Yeah. Like, this is something that...
Like, mind your business.
Exactly.
To be fair, Americans used to have that. I mean, the first coin ever in the U.S., ever minted, right, the first U.S. cent, did not have "In God We Trust" or "Et pluribus unum" as its motto. It had "Mind your business."
Really?
Right. Right? So that was in 1787. So the US was actually founded on what today we would call Eastern European mentality, which is mind your goddamn business.
Well, you had people from Europe going for a new life.
Yeah.
And they were sick and tired of the shit that was happening
of
here.
the Karens, So mind your business.
Yeah.
And
no,
okay.
I mean, obviously, as a Romanian, I'm in favor of Romanian morality. I don't think like many Westerners even know what Romanian morality is, but it's like...
That's a good thing. I mean, I'm very happy that Westerners have a terrible opinion about Romania. I hope they keep it. Don't come here. It's Mordor. It's a terrible place. Stay there.
Let me give you an example. The difference between Romanian and American morality. American morality just doesn't understand the concept of some corruption is acceptable.
Yes.
like they just do not understand this thing. And when you tell it to them, it's like you're speaking heresy.
Not just that some corruption is acceptable. It's in fact desirable.
Because is it desirable?
Yes, because it acts as a suppression valve. Right? You can avoid a lot of rioting, a lot of very bad blood in a community through a little bit of corruption. So a little bit of corruption is not just acceptable, but sometimes desirable.
Yeah, an example that Americans have with this is abstinence, right? So like no sex before marriage. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe in a medieval world where people get to marry, they have like arranged
15.
marriages. Yeah, like when the American was founded, I think like the age of marriage was like 14 or 15 or something
even lower
like that,
than that,
right?
Even lower than that.
So like, okay, the person...
It still is 13 in several U.S. states today.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
okay.
No, it was lower.
No, but like in those times, right, you hit puberty, you already have a wife, and by the time you're 18, you have 7 kids to take over the farm.
Yeah.
But today, like, people marry at the age of 30, 35. Like, the idea that you expect a human being to have abstinence, like no sex whatsoever by the age of 35. Like it's not natural.
That's not how this works.
It's like expecting a person not to sleep, right? And so like the Romanian morality is like use a fucking condom.
Yeah, pretty
Right?
much.
Like if you have sex, just use a condom.
Well, we can go even further back in history. The Romanian Orthodox Church recognizes 2 divorces. Why? Because, well, history. Reality says that sometimes things don't work out. So under certain circumstances, which are actually pretty liberal, especially if you think that that dogma was written in the 13th century, we kind of have to recognize at least once or twice because, things happen. Life happens.
We also had brothels operating under the church, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not under the church, but the patriarch was the prime minister when prostitution, including lesbian prostitution,
Was legal in Romania.
Yes, we had lesbian brothels and homosexual men brothels as well.
Yeah, a lot of people that say like the now is degenerate.
No.
No.
The 1920s were significantly more degenerate than the 2020s. In pretty much every aspect.
There are places where degeneracy is at the max, like California and other places.
Right.
Sure,
But there was one fundamental difference which I'm hoping that we can eventually bring it back, which is to say maximum tolerance in private, far more than today.
And minimum tolerance
But
in
minimum
public.
tolerance in public, more restricted
But like
than
some
today.
people will say the internet is public.
Yeah, no, it's not. It really
I think like the internet is separated. Like there are private places on the internet, like private websites and private places that require a password or a credit card to access. And there are like public places like Facebook and YouTube. So like you should have a...
Yes, but internet doesn't hit you randomly on the street. You don't have to be on the internet. That's why the internet has mostly been understood legally as a quasi-private space. Because you don't have to be on the internet. You don't have to have an internet connection. You don't have to be on Facebook.
I mean, in a first world country, getting a job and stuff like that.
No, not really. No, you don't have to. And in fact, in most of the countries of Europe, it's at least presumably unconstitutional to force people to have an internet connection. And every time someone like me actually sued, every time the court sided with...
You did. I think you did sue during the pandemic because you were first to have a QR code, right? And you were like, I don't know how to use the phone.
Yeah, no, I was planning to sue on the passenger locator form because that particular executive order required exclusively an online filling. There was no option to fill it in with a pen and paper. So I was going to break that order and then, force the public health authority to fine me. I think they would not have fined me because they have me on a list that this guy is crazy, don't mess with him. But in any event, and then go and say, well, look, I don't have an internet connection. I don't know how to use a laptop. I don't have a smartphone and I don't have to have one. And if a legislation forces me
You don't have the competency to
Yes,
know how to...
yes.
You don't, yeah, literally, like Romania is kind of like Britain where you need a license. Like here, well, I don't have the competency to...
Yeah, but, you don't have a legal obligation.
I don't have the know-how.
Yeah, you don't have a legal obligation to have IT competence, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, one day before I was due to leave the country and then come back and do that, someone let the government know that that's probably unconstitutional, so they abolished the order. So I didn't get the chance to use that. But it happened in Slovakia, for instance. The government was sued for attempting to force exclusively electronic payments on certain things. And the Constitutional Court was like, no, actually cash is a constitutional right. And, people...
This is why I never believed the World Economic Forum is going to accomplish that we're going to get cashless societies.
Yeah, no,
like in some countries, the reality is that it can't be implemented.
It can't be implemented. And then even in more cashless countries, like in Sweden, now they're adopting legislation that fines stores that don't take cash. And, because again, there is such thing as digital exclusion. And if you go too far, eventually you're going to get a backlash to it. Even in very calm places like Sweden, where it's probably the only place in the world where they voluntarily adopted a mostly cashless model. But even there is now a backlash and say, okay, come on, enough is enough. I mean, if I'm hungry, you're going to have to give me food for physical cash. And if you don't like it, tough shit, we're going to shut down your store.